Buenos dias, ladies and gentlemen, Manny here, welcome back to the channel. The time has come, the journey goes on, we are finally leaving Bacalar. We are now moving towards the inland of Mexico, away from the Atlantic coast, away from the Caribbean Sea. And when you want to overcome great distances in Mexico, you basically have the choice between an inland flight or the bus. And as you guys know, I'm the type of guy who avoids flying whenever reasonably possible. Not only because I get an eerie feeling on a plane, but also because it's not exactly the most environmentally friendly type of traveling. It's usually more expensive and you miss out on a lot of stuff that you are overflying so quickly, a lot of land you will never see up there. And so we took the bus, which departed in the middle of the night at around 2 o'clock in the morning to go on an 8-hour journey from Bacalar in the state of Quintana Roo to our next destination, Palenque, in the state of Chiapas, which is supposed to be a nice city surrounded by archaeological sites from the Maya civilization and stunning nature, beautiful, relatively untouched forests with waterfalls, lots of animals and all the good stuff. Anyone who was in Mexico before might know that these buses are often full of people and it's hot in general, so they usually climatize the buses like crazy. Which means that after an 8-hour ride, there is a good chance that you might step out of such a vehicle already feeling sickish and that you are sick waking up the next morning and lose a couple of days for recovery. Now, just as with good and bad days in rock climbing, there will be a lot of people who will argue now, well, I've been unlucky this time, there's a good chance of getting sick in climatized rooms, what can I do? Next time my chances are better. But in the meantime, I've found a couple of measures that you can take to minimize your chance of getting sick on a long distance travel, and I thought I would share them in the context of this vlog in order to increase the value of the video a bit. So the first thing I want to point out is what it actually is that makes you sick, and in this case it's of course the ubiquitous viruses and bacteria which are around, and especially in places like a crowded climatized bus with everybody coughing and sneezing like crazy. You can imagine that a lot of that stuff is around. But I think that even if that wasn't the case, you have to be aware of the fact that you are carrying these little pests around yourself permanently, and the only reason why they do not grow and develop into sickness is your well-working immune system, which is keeping them under control. What I want to say is that the permanent presence of viruses and bacteria is not the primary reason why you get sick, but it's more a temporary weakness of your immune system which allows them to grow, and which is caused by certain conditions which you can be aware of and thus avoid in order to stay healthy. A lot of these organisms inhabit your mucous surfaces, the mucosa skin in your nose and throat. I don't really know how to call them in English, but I'm sure you know what I mean. And to keep them under control, it is of major importance to prevent these surfaces from drying out and getting cold. Because if these surfaces lose their moistness, so to say, blood supply to these areas will decrease, and your immune system, meaning the white cells that constitute it like killer cells and T cells and all the other good stuff, will kind of retract with it, leaving the area alone, allowing a colony of bad stuff to develop and establish itself, and once blood supply is restored, because conditions have changed to the better again, you get that sore throat feeling due to your immune system hitting that spot of infection and releasing all kinds of inflammation chemicals, thereby starting to fight for your cure. The number one thing that will cause the mucous surfaces of your respiration apparatus to dry out is cold, dry air, produced by strong climatization, just as it occurs on airplanes, airports, and these buses here in Mexico. But despite that, you can prevent your stuff from drying out by taking the following measures. First, keep yourself warm in general. On a bus like this, it has 18 degrees Celsius, while outside it has between 30 and 40. So you might not think about it when getting on the bus, on the plane, but you will need a jacket and something to keep your head warm, like a hoodie or a hat. It might look stupid, but just a warm, cozy feeling will cause your body fluids to stay close to the surface. You don't want to sweat though, so don't overdo it. Secondly, always carry something to drink with you. Ideally not cold water. In extreme environments, a tea or something like that will help a lot. Have a sip here and there and it will keep your mucus stuff and all the rest of your body hydrated. And be aware, in super dry air you lose hydration in general very quickly, although you might not notice it because it is chilly, simply because you breathe humid air out but super dry air in permanently. Which leads me to the third tip. In extreme cases you can wrap some kind of breathable fabric around your mouth. It will capture a proportion of the humidity you lose with every breath and will thus create a sort of intermediate humidity space between you and the dry air outside, causing you to breathe at least semi-moist air instead of super dry air. My fourth tip is breathe through your nose all the time. The reason for this is that the air has to pass a longer distance until it reaches your mucosas and thus has more time to get warmed up and catch up on some moisture. This is quite easily doable on a long distance travel because usually there won't be any exceptionally exhausting tasks to perform. The only dangerous thing is when people fall asleep, because then often the head falls backwards, leaving the mouth open. I've experienced this quite frequently when I was young and dumb, and when I woke up, everything from the mouth to the lungs was completely dried out, and on the next day I was punished with sickness. Avoid falling asleep with your mouth open, let your head fall to the side or something, or just lay down if you can. Tip number 5, avoid areas where you can literally feel the air flowing by. I'm sure you know what I mean. Maybe right next to you there's an opening from the climatization and air is flowing out right next to you. Avoid that, and if you can, protect your ears. Put that hoodie on, because at those places body temperature is stripped off extremely quickly. And my final tip, carb it up properly before you start such a journey. Usually you can get only a low amount of low quality food in on such travels, so be sure to not step on the vehicle hungry. And bring your own food, pre-cooked in some kind of jar if possible. It's easier to hold your body temperature when you're carved up, and your immune system will work properly if there's sufficient energy supply. And that's basically it. I can almost guarantee that you'll be immune against traveling sickness if you're following those tips. To sum it up one more time, keep yourself warm, stay hydrated, have some fabric with you to cover your mouth, breathe through your nose, avoid areas with flowing air, and be carved up properly. Alright guys, big thanks for the support on the 20k milestone video. The online coaching is already full, so yeah, no more applications please. And now a few more shots from the new city that we're in. I hope you have a great time. Thanks for watching as always. Drop some likes and comments if you got something from the video, and peace out. See you in the next one. guys, I think this is an awesome place. It's just an awesome place, super nice bar, super nice campground. Do you hear these sounds? It's like standing in the jungle, you know? Amazing. And it looks super expensive. You have to know this is 80 pesos per person per night. So that's about 4 euros. 4 euros per person per night to stay here. Can you imagine? I mean, we are only sleeping in the tent, but still, it's amazing. I don't know. That's just amazing. Alright guys, it's time to go to sleep. Got a busy day tomorrow. And I hope I'll see you there. Bye. Buenas noches. Alright guys, thanks for all the support on the 20k milestone video. The online coaching is already full, so no more applications please.